Thanks for tuning in to our seller interview series. Of today, we've got an AdSense and advertising business for sale in the sports and recreation niche. Created in November 2015, this business makes $1,578 per month in net profit, and the listing number for this business is 40975. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the sites they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller with us today to go through the business that cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. Thanks for coming on, Sam.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Before we dive into the questions, I just want to give a quick summary of the business for everyone out there listening in. This business was built in November 2015. As I mentioned, it has a monthly revenue of $1,612 with expenses sitting at $34 for that total net profit of $1,578. Now, that is over a 6-month average, and included with the sale of this business are the domains, the site content files, and hosting accounts, as well as the email list, social media profiles, the Stripe account, as well as the e-commerce subdomain for the sponsored listings. Now, with that all being said, Sam, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses? Is this kind of your first one? Is it one of many? What's the story there?
We run a digital agency, so we do a lot of web design development and SEO for clients. And then we also run several of our own websites. This is not the first, but it was one of the earlier ones that we really put some time into up front.
Excellent. And how did you come up with the idea for this niche in particular? Without giving away the niche, was it something you were already interested in? Was it just pure competitor research? Is that how you decided on it?
Honestly, it was an experiment that we ran on our own agency site where, we tested it out. We were actually just using it as like a link building strategy, and it worked really well.
Excellent. Very cool, man. For someone that is looking at this business and maybe, they're not familiar with online businesses or maybe just, AdSense and advertising style sites, can you just briefly describe how this site is making money?
Yeah, so it's all about organic traffic, social traffic. Once we have that, then we will sell, we do a lot of, we call them sponsored listings, where we sell good placements on the page to local businesses that want to get that visibility.
Excellent.
So it's a monthly recurring stream.
Awesome. So are you also using AdSense for the placements where you don't have an advertiser on? Is that what you're using AdSense for?
We actually have taken AdSense off. So currently there's no AdSense. So it's basically free money if someone wants to throw it back on.
Awesome. And we'll dive into some of the other questions here, but since we're on the topic, how did you go about getting these advertisers on the page? Did you cold call them, email them? Did they find you? What was the scenario there?
Yeah, it's a good mix. Right away, it was a lot of email and cold calling. I mean, it was an easy sell, which is huge. And that's the only reason we really pursued it. It was something that they wanted. And then throughout the process, we would get people reaching out to us to say, how can they get on the website? So good mix of both.
That's great. When you first started this business back in the very beginning, what was the trajectory like for it? Did it take you a while before you started getting ranked and before you can start getting advertisers, or did it kind of all happen at once for you?
So the traffic, we were heavily focused on organic through Google right away. So that took a while, about 6 months, to be honest. It was really, we started seeing good traffic in like March, April. And then by June, we were, getting tons and tons of traffic. And that's really when we said, let's go sell this now to some local clients or local businesses and get that monthly recurring revenue going. So we started really selling it in, I think, about June, maybe May. And then from there, it was just pretty steady.
That's great, man. That's a really cool business model. I really like the local kind of angle you went with it. Is there anything you learned from this business in particular that you're going to be applying, and maybe you already are applying to your other sites or maybe even your agency?
Yeah, the link building method that we use for this site is rock solid and it works really well. That's why this whole site worked, and that's part of the sale. So that's definitely probably the biggest thing that we'll take away, just to build that local relevance and rankings.
Is the link building strategy, can you talk about it on here? Is that more like some secret sauce stuff you're going to give to the buyer?
I mean, it's not all that crazy. I think the process is just what makes it so smooth. Basically, what we did was, we would reach out to local businesses, and it was a little bit of awards bait where we would say like, hey, congrats, link back to us and we'll give you preferred placement on the page. So it works really well. So, but the process is what makes it silky smooth.
Nice, man.
We'll keep that as the secret.
Excellent. Just enough of a tease. Is there anything that you did with this business that didn't work? Maybe something you wish you hadn't done?
Honestly, we really stuck to what we were thinking from the beginning. So the organic traffic worked. The only thing that, I guess, nothing that we didn't really try anything. Honestly, that didn't work. It was really straightforward. The process worked. We just ended up not having enough time to really keep it rolling and keep growing it. So no, everything that we tried worked. And I think that's a huge part of why it's attractive.
So you mentioned it was almost a purely SEO play, but then you also mentioned you had some social media traffic. So what was the big breakdown on the traffic, and was the social media traffic just something that happened on its own, or was that also something you were, angling with?
Yeah, so the profiles themselves don't have all that much traction. There are some that do. Mostly the social traffic is just from shares from either the organic traffic, and then also the link building outreach drove a lot of social action because, once again, it was awards bait. So people were sharing the honor all over the place.
Very cool. I like that style. Can you break down the earning type? So I'm assuming multiple advertisers. How many advertisers do you have? Do you have like 10, 16? How's that look?
Yeah, I think it's about 10 to 12. Right now. Yeah, I think it's actually 11 on the dot. And then aside from that, the AdSense was really nice for a while. Like I said, we took that down, but it's free money that's really not being built into the earnings right now. So that's kind of sweet for whoever's buying. But yeah, mostly it's basically a flat rate for everyone. So just about everyone's paying the same amount per month.
Cool. Was there any reason you took the AdSense down? Was it for user interface or anything like that?
Yeah, it's for us. We just didn't want to jeopardize anything by mixing ads into the page. We wanted it to be focused on what the site did well. But that being said, once again, it's free money. If someone wants to work on it and make sure that it's earning, but not, misleading in any way or trying to throw ads, making the page spammy. So right. It was mostly just for users. Yeah.
How stable are the earnings? I know this is like a monthly payment these businesses are making, but do you see like an uptick throughout the year, or is it just pretty, steady as she goes?
It's been really steady. It's one of those things where we haven't had much time to work on it. The earnings would probably be higher. The number one reason we lose a customer is their credit card declines or they get a new credit card and then it just never gets updated in the system. So that's the number one reason we lose clients, which is probably one of the better reasons to lose clients.
Yeah, absolutely. How much content is on the site, and are you continuing to add content right now?
We haven't added anything new in a while. There are probably 230 pages or so, and the only new additions were kind of like a redesign, basically updating the interface for the website, making it easier to use, making it faster. So mostly that kind of stuff. And then there were some content tweaks that were made during that process.
Cool, man. I'm assuming most of the content is kind of like based around like service providers, like reviews, or just saying like best of XYZ city for plumbing or something like that. Is that correct? Or is there other kind of content you're building into it?
That's the bulk of it. That's the bread and butter. There are some other just more standard types of articles mixed in as well. We just wanted to keep the mix and keep it looking as natural as possible.
Yeah, definitely spread in some informational content in there and all that good stuff.
Yep.
When it comes to opportunities, let's pretend that you wanted to keep growing this site and keep scaling it. What would be the least risky path you'd focus on to grow this business?
Social. That's probably would be my number one action, is to grow on Facebook. I've seen it work with similar types. One in particular that is in the same niche where they've got 300,000 followers on Facebook and their posts get tons of engagement. It's just one of those industries where the engagement can be super high. It's just not something that we had ever had the time to do.
Are you getting social media followings from Facebook or Pinterest, or is it multiple different networks?
Yeah, so like the action that we get is Facebook, primarily Facebook, Pinterest, and Reddit.
Oh, Reddit, really? That's pretty cool.
But the actual followings are primarily Facebook.
Interesting. Now, if you were going to take this business and you want to grow it as quickly as humanly possible, you just kind of threw caution to the wind. Would you do anything different to grow the business?
Yeah, I mean, I would associate more time to it, more resources. It wouldn't take, honestly, all that much, in my opinion, to have someone just strictly calling businesses. I think the sales could blow up just by reaching out to more businesses. And that's just not something that we did enough of.
It is interesting with where your net profit is and your expenses. It wouldn't be unreasonable to hire like a part-time sales agent of some kind to do that. I mean, you could literally pay them from the net profit is earning right now. So
Yeah, yeah,
that is
exactly.
kind of cool. Is there a lot of slots open on the site still then? Like you mentioned, there's quite a bit of content on the site, only 11 clients. So is there just a ton of pages ranking you haven't been able to reach out to anyone yet for?
Yeah, yeah, yep. There's probably legitimate, I mean, 100, 200, 300 spots that are open, and then potentially more with just a little bit more effort in getting some extra pages ranked and sitting up high in the search results. Definitely. Yeah, there's tons of it.
That's cool. I love these directory kind of sites. There's so many creative things you can do with them. So when it comes to actual risk, what do you think the biggest risk is to a business like this that buyers should be aware of?
I think the biggest risk is that the traffic is primarily organic right now. In my opinion, is by far the biggest risk. Is it's based on traffic. The advertisers want that, and having all your eggs in one basket is always the toughest part. So that's why I always say social is the next step, just to diversify where those sources of traffic are coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely a risk. When it comes to work required, though, what would you describe what you're doing to maintain the site? You mentioned you don't have a lot of time to put into it. So, what are your daily and weekly tasks looking like currently with the site?
Not much, honestly, since we put some time into it around, let's see, March, when we were revamping how it looked and how it functioned. Aside from that, we have put like zero time into it, and the earnings are steady as can be. So that's why I say there's so much opportunity. If someone wanted to devote some time or had some people that could devote some time to it, the opportunities are large.
Definitely. So, you're this has basically been running on autopilot then.
Yeah, completely.
That's awesome, man. Very cool. So, would you recommend any skills for a buyer that maybe isn't familiar with this niche before they what kind of skills should they have before they purchase this site?
Aside from just having time and being willing to work on it, sales is probably number one. Can you teach someone to sell, or either by email or phone, or can you do that? That's primarily it. The rest is, like I said, all built into the process. There's just not much to it. It's all organized, being able to edit, a standard content management system type of website. That's it.
This website is built on WordPress or something else?
It's not. So it was originally WordPress, and we moved it to a content management system called Statamic, which is identical to WordPress almost. It's got the login. The dashboard is very similar feeling. It's just way faster since we moved it there. And that was huge for us because it's very media rich, the site. And that was one of our biggest things, is how can we speed this up just to make it smoother and, once again, faster for search engines. So it's built on Statamic. It'll blow your mind. Super easy.
That's awesome. So it's basically a very lightweight version, or I guess maybe that's the wrong word, but a faster version of WordPress. Very similar, but just loads faster. And so the site speed, I'm assuming, is much faster.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I mean, it was night and day from when we switched it.
It's amazing how just a bump in site speed can really just dramatically improve things. For anyone out there listening in, if you have sites, definitely worth upgrading and getting that speed test all the way up there. I'm sure you agree after what you just said. So
Definitely. Yeah, it's huge.
So moving into some wrap-up questions here, would you be willing to commit to a non-compete?
Yeah, definitely.
And how much support would you be willing to offer that buyer?
I'm open to it. It's one of those things where I always think it's smart, if I was to be buying the site, to have that. So we're open to it. If whatever the agreement is, we just want to make sure that it fits both sides, and that, if we're going to be allocating some time to, getting someone, trained up on it, or if we're, going to be responsible for responding to questions in, a really timely fashion. We're totally open as long as the agreement makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, obviously, the best case scenario here for you and for Empire Flippers, someone comes in and buys this business for full list price, but would you at all be open to a split or an earn-out scenario, say like 80% down and 20% maybe after the completion of that training period you both agreed on, or perhaps a few months down the road, anything like that?
Totally open. Yeah, it's one of those things where the site, we just want to get it into someone's hands. We know it could be huge for people. So we're definitely willing to work with just about anything on that. It's just, it's not our focus right now. So yeah, anything is on the table, honestly.
So I kind of asked you this question last, so I meant to ask it for you up front, but we got talking about your link building thing. But why are you selling the business? Why not just keep it and keep collecting those checks?
Yeah, we built several sites, built our own properties as kind of a side, projects so that we had stuff to do when we were not having agency work. And basically we made the decision several months ago to focus 100% on growing our client base. So that comes with the task of, offloading some of these properties that are taking either up our time or just sitting there not being maximized because we're not investing into them anymore.
That makes sense. You're focusing more on the agency. With this business, you have an e-commerce subdomain. So is that something you utilize? Were you planning on selling some kind of products as well with this business?
We use it strictly for the customers. When we were selling, we would basically just send them a link to buy, and then the payment would come through Stripe, and it would just go on a monthly recurring payment plan. So that's why we did it. It was just easier to manage. So we're not doing any invoicing. It's just auto charging their credit card.
I gotcha.
So that's why it's there. It's a little bit more of a self-serve kind of situation.
That makes sense. That's actually super convenient. And your email list, how big is it?
It's over 20,000.
Wow. Is that all just from people visiting your site and opting in?
Yes.
Very cool. Are you utilizing that in any way?
We never utilized it to its full potential. It's another spot to find advertisers for just because it's a huge list. It is all broken out by state. So some of them are more segmented or smaller kind of sub lists. But yeah, it's huge. We've never tapped into it all that much aside from when we have a new piece of content that we wanted to send out that would be relevant to that segment of the list.
Cool. That's awesome, man. It's very, very interesting. So before I ask you my final question, I just want to give a quick summary of the business again for everyone listening in. The business was built in November 2015, as I mentioned at the top. The monthly revenue is $1,612 with expenses sitting at $34 for that total net profit of $1,578. That is over a 6-month average. And included with the sale of the business is the domains, the site contents and files, as well as the hosting accounts, the email list, social media profiles, Stripe account, and the e-commerce subdomain for the sponsored listings where the payment is processed. So my final question for you, Sam, is what is your best pitch in 30 seconds or less on why someone should buy this business?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One, the traffic is huge. It's like we call it a megaphone. You can reach so many people in different areas. The link building process is solid gold, and the revenue, as I've explained, is really steady, and we're hands off at this point. So, I think it's a lot of the things that you want to see with the business. With some time and some work, it could be, a lot bigger than it is right now.
I think it's a very solid business, very cool idea. I like the award strategy quite a lot, and very cool business. So for everyone out there, if you're watching this on YouTube and you want more information, the link will be below this video. That would take you to the marketplace listing. Now, if you're watching this on the actual listing page and you want more information, you can become a depositor today. All you have to do is click the button, make a deposit. You'll be given everything you need to review this business. So Sam, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.